Welcome to the ED Radio podcast, where we tackle the facts, dispel the myths, and provide real solutions to help you take control of your sexual health and confidence. I am Mark Goldberg, certified sex therapist and host. For any men who are serious about resolving ED or any other sexual challenge that they are facing, we encourage you to visit our website, eiqmen.com, and use our additional resources, reach out to us with questions, or schedule a 15-minute complimentary consult where you can speak with myself or one of our team members. There's no need to hesitate, no need to wait. We are here to help and here to be of assistance. Today's episode is going to focus on the election of 2024. I will preface this by saying this is not a political conversation. This is not about voting choices, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, conservative, liberal, wherever your opinions may lie. This is not here to weigh in on that. We're here to talk about the takeaways from the election and what that means for sexual health, mental health, and wellness moving into the next bunch of years. So at the time of this recording, Donald Trump has won the election, and we're going to try to aim this episode to be released right around the transition of power, when the Trump administration and Donald Trump will be assuming office, because we do think that this is a pertinent and relevant conversation. So the first thing I want to say is that this was a highly contentious election. For anybody here in the United States, I'm sure that you could feel it. It was very palpable, very, very difficult time leading up to the election. And for some people, very difficult after the election. And for some people, a lot of relief after the election. People around the world, I'm sure, are also very aware of just how contentious the 2024 election process was. There are a significant amount of people who are very devastated by the outcome of the election. And I want to emphasize that it is so key, so critical to be empathic and understanding that there are so many different ways to look at politics, so many different ways to look at life, to look at direction of a country, direction of a society. And we'll never be able to heal anything if we cannot see multiple perspectives. So I know that I'm seeing situations where couples do not align necessarily politically, and it can create a lot of tension between them. So I want to emphasize just the importance of empathy, the importance of understanding that even if you are devastated by the results, your partner may not be, and they may have a different perspective. But certainly if you are okay with the results or good with the results, but people around you or a partner is not, it's important to just be empathic and understanding that there was a lot riding on this election for a lot of people, a lot of very contentious and complex issues. And there are a lot of people who are scared by the results, and there are a lot of people who would have been scared by results in the other direction. So it is just so key to be empathic.
For too long, men have been told that pills, supplements, and devices are the only way to manage and resolve erectile dysfunction. If you are one of the millions of men who know that their sexual function and overall experience is not just physical, EIQ is here for you. Our one-of-a-kind, self-guided e-course is designed to empower you to jumpstart your process of addressing performance anxiety, building confidence, and enjoying sex again. No gimmicks, no pills, just real solutions for men who want them. Try our course today at erectioniq.com.
Sexual relationships between people also run the risk of taking a hit or being negatively impacted by not so much by the results of this election, but by the tension that is subsequently develops as a result of people's political preferences, voting preferences, and whatnot. There are still many people that I encounter who are struggling during this time period to be around family members with different voting preferences and whatnot. So there's a lot of tension in the air, and I do think that empathy can really be a huge bridge. So I want to at least emphasize that. Now, with regard to the election, there's a lot of different takeaways, and I am not a political analyst. I don't purport to understand the factors that go into this, and I believe this is something, or I imagine that this is something that was going to be looked at and analyzed and studied for years to come. Now, the demographic that I do want to focus on is a demographic that is very, very connected to everything we do at EIQ Men, everything that we do with the ED Radio podcast, and that is younger men. And one of the noteworthy or remarkable trends that was seen in the 2024 election was this shift or trend of younger men voting for Donald Trump. And the big question that I think we need to ask is why? And I think some of this connects to broader trends that we've been seeing over the years of the rise of male influencers. I won't name any names, but there are plenty of influencers and mega influencers out there. And the question is, who are they speaking to, and why is this audience so large and so receptive? And I think one of the things that we have to recognize, and I probably have not done a good enough job of talking about this because I wanted to avoid getting into things that were too controversial, but there is a very real phenomenon going on out there where younger men feel disempowered and they feel lost and directionless. And it's something that I'm seeing more and more of entering into the office in connection with or in conjunction with sexual function or relationship challenges and whatnot. And I think a lot of these men are looking for people who are a little bit older, that have some life experience and wisdom to help guide them, and give some kind of direction, some kind of map of how to navigate the world. Certainly in the past bunch of years, where being a man, and certainly being a younger man, has become emotionally a lot more complex than I think we could say, comparatively speaking, to 20, 30, or 40 years ago. Now, another phenomenon that I'm seeing in my office is that men are increasingly intimidated by their partners, and in particular their female partners. And a lot of these men feel a deep sense of inadequacy. They feel that they are being messaged to that in order to be worthy of a partner, they need to meet standards which are simply just not obtainable for so many people. But they feel this huge amount of pressure to earn tremendous amounts of money. They feel a huge amount of pressure to perform sexually, that things have to be perfect, that they must give their partner maximally pleasurable experience each and every time that they engage. And it's a tremendous amount of pressure, very, very intimidating. So much so that a lot of these men are avoiding relationships. They have a million and one reasons why the relationship isn't the right thing. It's not good enough. They're not prepared. It's not the right time. And this rings to me to be very, very different than the way men in their 40s or 50s present in office, and the way they describe their experiences growing up. This intimidation factor was there, but on a much smaller scale, and it was not impacting the same number of people. Another trend that I think is important to take note of, and this is not unique to younger men, but it certainly is a trend that's impacting them, is that the rates of depression and anxiety among young people are significantly higher than where they were even a decade, 2 decades ago. And there's a lot of discussion around this, and I'm not going to get into again, all of the nitty gritty and the details about what might be causing that. There's speculation and whatnot. I also recognize that we probably are doing a better job of destigmatizing and allowing people to come forward and talk about what they're experiencing. And that also might be contributing to a rise in anxiety and depression. However, people that are, again, far more invested in following these trends and whatnot will attribute this to factors other than our improved ability to diagnose, our improved ability to destigmatize, that there are other trends going on that, again, if people feel disempowered and directionless, this can be a very depressive and a very anxiety provoking type of atmosphere that they're like living in. So if we take those factors, that men are feeling like higher levels of depression, higher levels of anxiety, they feel disempowered, they feel directionless. Some of that was also, parenthetically, in the economic messaging that people, more people are like on board with a message that has to do with like economic opportunity, and that was demonstrated in reasons why this younger demographic expressed why they were trending towards um, Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. So like people are looking for direction, they're looking for a sense of empowerment, and like that's in combination with feeling intimidated by their female counterparts, feeling this deep sense of inadequacy. Like men are looking for like direction, and they're looking for a leader. Now, um, whether or not you believe that Donald Trump and the slew of people that come along with him and his whole way of being, whether you believe that that is the right thing for younger men or not, is not what we are here to discuss. I'm not weighing in on that. I will keep my opinions to myself, like about him and his persona and whatnot. I think what we need to stay focused on, though, is that men are feeling disempowered. Younger men in particular are feeling directionless, and they are looking for and grasping for something to hold on to. And this has, at least in part, contributed to a shift in voting trends. And I think what that tells us is younger men are seeking answers. They're seeking direction, and they want to feel better about their place in the world. They want to feel better about their role in society, which in some ways has been put under a microscope recently, has been brought into question. And I am hearing it more and more, even from couples that I work with and younger women who are saying that they just want a man. That's the terminology they use. But I think what they're referencing is they want somebody who's going to, express and exert a certain amount of that energy in a direction and goal oriented type of way, somebody who they can feel like is going to provide safety and security and take care of them. Other women talk about wanting a traditional man. I think it runs along those same lines. So there seems to be a trend kind of moving in that direction to some degree compared to where we may have been 5 or 10 years ago. The reason why all of this is relevant from my perspective is because what we potentially are facing, and I don't know like to what degree something like this may come to fruition, but we're potentially facing an evolution in what it means to be a man. And there's a lot of psychological implications for that, in particular around erections. So we've spoken about on this podcast before that there's multiple constructs pertaining to like masculinity, what it means to be a man, what it means to feel like a man. And those constructs are not, they don't exist in a vacuum. They are heavily influenced by society, heavily influenced by these trends. So even with the work that I do and like some of the podcasts that I've recorded in the past, I am already preparing that some of the broader like collective psychological constructs may be starting to shift and change. That may have already been happening to some degree. But I think we have to be conscientious and aware that there is a broader trend going on that has been affirmed or empowered to a certain degree with the change in power that is coming, and that men are looking for something different and are going to some degree, try to act on that. I am not able to predict the future. I don't know where any of this is going to go, but the dynamicism of what it means to be in a role, what it means to be a man, is something that we should not take lightly. And I think one of the biggest takeaways is that for me at least from this election, is that what it meant to be, or what it means to be a man in 2020, what it means to be a man in 2015, what it means to be a man in 2010 is not the same of what it's going to mean to be a man in 2025 and possibly in 2030. And there's just such dynamicism to all of this. Now, these constructs, as they shift, are going to have to change to some degree the way we look at sexual function, the way we look at how a man feels vis-a-vis his partner, how that's going to impact our constructs and our cognitions around performance anxiety and around pursuing pleasure. These are all going to be things that are going to shift. I do not have a level of confidence right now to predict what that might look like. I'm confident that we as sex therapists will be able to adapt and evolve with this. But my takeaway message to our listeners is, like, we are all dynamic people, and we are part of a dynamic culture and a dynamic society, and we're influenced by that. And things change over the lifespan. Okay, this outcome was something that was not predictable 15 or 20 years ago. The direction of this country, the direction of our society was not predictable. But it happens and things change and it has an influence. So big takeaway for 2024 is that things seem to be trending for younger men in particular, but for men more broadly, in a bit of a different direction from where they have been. And that will have some trickle-down effects. Some of it probably will be positive, some of it probably will be negative, or things that we have to contend with.